And I can see we already have Wayne Taylor. What's going on, Wayne? Glad you could join us this evening. I hope that you're wearing your pizza tops. If anyone doesn't already have a pair of high top shoes that will order them a pizza, I feel bad for you. You need to get a pair of those for sure. Hey, tonight we have the everyday dad with us. I am going to shoot for the fewest number of mistakes possible during this live stream because that's always a challenge. But everyone, please say hello. I'm going to turn the video camera. Come on. I'm going to turn the camera and the mic over to Gary from the Everyday Dad briefly to say hello to us. How's it going, Gary?
Well, hey, Mike, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm just super excited to be here. It's been a fantastic day and I'm just pumped. I'm
awesome.
Pumped.
Awesome. I love the energy level, man. I just talked to Gary yesterday, and I've been browsing through his channel for about the last week or so. And I got to tell you, when I go through and try to find guests for this stream, the obvious thing that I look for is a face, because a lot of times you go onto channels and it'll be this review, this tech, that, whatever. And there's no faces on any of the thumbnails. So I think, wow, this is going to be a really interesting guest. But you go in, and if that person's not already comfortable with getting in front of the camera, it's kind of like, oh man, I hope if I approach them, they're going to say okay. And then if they've got, have you come across these channels where it's not even a human voice, it's like Siri or someone is doing the transcribing?
Yeah, I've come across those. They're frustrating, especially when you see like 1 million views on them, and it's just somebody has borrowed a bunch of other people's content and then put like, this is the, DJI Osmo Mobile 2, and it has this specs. Yeah, no, frustrating.
Some robotic script thing. Well, what really got my attention, outside of like all the drone stuff, which I am very excited. I'm very excited to talk about it because I don't know the first thing about it. But I'll tell you this right off the bat, when I went to your channel and I watched the trailer, I love the attitude where you're literally saying, look, I'm the everyday dad. If I can do this, you can do this. And that's kind of been my the same feeling that I have. When I show people things, I don't come off like, hey, look at how great I am, I'm an expert. I just say, hey, if I figured out how to do this, I think a lot of other people can too. And I love that attitude. Now I have to ask you, give us a little more information about how you came up with the name The Everyday Dad and why.
Honestly, I don't remember. I've been doing this. I've been running the channel since January of 2017. I was watching I can't remember the guy's name, but I was watching a 3D printer video. It's called The Life of Tyler. He doesn't make videos anymore, unfortunately, but he had a video about the Monoprice Select 3D Mini printer. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people that couldn't figure it out. So I bought a 3D printer. I started making videos on my cell phone, and I cannot remember why, just because I don't know, but it worked out. It worked out pretty well, but I cannot remember for the life of me how I came up with the name.
Hey, it works. It makes sense. And I got to say, going through your videos, I got to see the everyday mom crashing a drone, which is awesome.
Well, she didn't wreck it. In her defense,
I shouldn't say crashing.
She almost, and there was I didn't notice how close she got to wrecking her drone until I reviewed the footage afterward. But there were some serious close calls there.
when a mistake like that happens and a drone impacts the ground, and instead of editing that out, you just kind of highlighted that and played it over and over and over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so she was my. So when I made that video, I definitely asked her about it. I was like, hey, I'm going to make fun of you for this. You know that, right? And she saw it. So I got a lot of flack in my comments for like, you're embarrassing her, but she saw everything, but it was hilarious.
That's great.
Hilarious.
Well, since we're on drones, I think that's a great place to start. It's one of those things that it's probably one of the fastest growing gadget, part of the gadget market right now. We set aside phones because, the phone market is pretty saturated, but a lot more people are obviously getting into drones or getting licensed to fly drones. We're seeing different applications. And I have several questions for you, and I think other people will also. The first one is going to be, let's talk briefly about this, something everyone wants to hear, how to make money with drones. And I don't want to give away the whole video word for word, but you actually go out in the field in one of your videos and show people, here's how you can make some money with the drone.
Well, yeah. So I'm not sure if that particular way works anymore. So there's a company called Drone Base. Well, I made like 7 or 8 months ago. They had an app on the phone that you could download. You click on it. They have these things where, hey, go take pictures of this commercial property. You take this series of photos. We'll stitch them together into like a 3-dimensional image, and we'll try to sell it to a realty company. And if we sell it to a realtor, we'll split the difference with you 50-50. I don't think they do those anymore. I think they now they send out what are called client missions. So I actually got an email the other day of, hey, here's a mission in your town. You can make $100 for about 10 minutes of work. You just, you go out and meet the client. There's these pictures they want you to take. You take these pictures, you upload them to our portal. We pay you immediately after that. So it's a good payout. It just depends on when I've only gotten a few of those emails in the last couple of months. So I don't know that it's super reliable.
Okay.
The way that it seems like most people make money with drones is making YouTube videos about drones.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
I said the way it seems like most people make money with drones is they make YouTube videos about drones.
Okay, well, fair
That's
enough.
how I do it.
I would think that, I would anticipate that in the future, we'll probably see other types of businesses implementing that same strategy, that we need original pictures, we need aerial views. If you live close to a landmark, or heck, maybe if you live in the desert, who knows where there might be a demand for that. But probably a good place to start is going about, I've never owned a drone. Like, the only thing I've remote controlled was one of those little helicopters they made probably, I'd say, about 2010 or so. I don't know if you remember them. They were all over the place right before Christmas, and they were fun, but quite challenging to control. Like, you had to put counterweights and adjust things, and they lasted about a day. We got them on Christmas Eve, and by Christmas Day, they were destroyed because you just crash into everything. When it comes to flying a drone, how would you describe the learning curve? Is it something you can just go get off the shelf and a lot of it's automated, or does it kind of depend on what style you get? How does that work?
Well, 100%, it 100% depends on the kind of drone you get. If you just get like one of those like easy to, like, cheaper quadcopters or cheaper helicopters, they're really hard to fly because you got to control for everything about it. There's different modes that you can put it in. Like acro, headless. I'm not a super expert on those, but if you get something like the smart drones now, like Unique makes them, DJI, obviously they're the big players in the space. Unique, DJI, Autel makes them. But if you get a GPS drone from a big manufacturer, they basically fly themselves, because there's 2 parts of having a camera drone. It's operating the camera and flying the drone. And sometimes it's hard to balance the two. There's even, so if you take like a gigantic drone, like an Inspire or an Inspire 2, DJI's professional line of drones, they have different controllers, one for the camera operator and one for the guy actually flying it. And so if you get something like that, they're incredibly easy. It's easy to learn. You just, you follow the little prompt on your phone, it take off, you put it in beginner mode, and it just takes off, and it perfectly hovers because it's using GPS and GLONASS to keep itself in one spot. And then you just mess around with the controller. It's just a controller, like a gamepad controller, and they're super easy.
Wow, that's cool. And so as far as licensings go, I remember about a year or so back that initially the FAA was trying to require people to register the drones that they bought. And I don't know a lot about it, but I do remember this specifically, and that was that a radio controlled airplane operator, who, you remember the airplanes that you could fly with the remote, someone stepped forward and said, no, technically a drone is being controlled by a remote, so it falls into the same category. And to the best of my knowledge, on a national level, you're not required to register your drone with anyone before you fly it. But have you, you're in Georgia, right?
I'm in Georgia, but no, now you're required. If you have a drone and you want to fly it for any purposes, you have to register it with the FAA. That just came out like a month or 2 ago.
No kidding.
You go to the FAA's website. It's a My Drone Zone or something like that. Just Google FAA drones. But it used to be you only had to register like your individual drone if you were doing commercial work under Part 107. But now anybody has to register their drone because everybody flies. So it used to be, I don't remember the exact numbers, but there's Part 107, which is the professional level. And then there was another one where if you were flying just for your own, if you're just flying for your own amusement, you registered as an individual flying drone, but you didn't have to register every individual drone. But now everybody flies under Part 107, whether you're doing it for hobby purposes or you're doing it for commercial purposes, and everybody has to register their drones. There is an exception to that if you're flying for a model RC club, like the guys doing, I guess, race quadcopters in I guess, certified in a certified like flight field, then you don't have to register under Part 107. You have to register under the small, I forget the exact, it's the small toy something. It's like the club exemption or something like that.
Okay, so pretty much you've got to register in. Where does the definition start? What is one of these $20 drones off the shelf that are like 3 inches wide? That would have to be registered.
If it's over half of a pound.
Half of a pound. Okay, so that's good to know. As far as the operator themselves, there's no requirement though, right? As far as like a drone flying license that you have to take some sort of test to say that you know what you're doing.
If you want to make money, yes, it's the Part 107. You go take you register with the FAA to take their test. They have like proctors at local. There's a college like an hour from here that you go. You just take like an online test. Well, it's on a computer. It's not online. You got to go to the proctor. You take the test. You pass the test. It's not hard. It's a government test, so it's not the hardest thing to pass. You pass it. They give you like a, hey, you passed this. Now in a few hours or a few days, we'll send you your code. You register for your code, and then a few weeks later, you'll get your official pilot's license. You'll get a temporary one before that will let you fly for commercial purposes, and then you'll get one in the mail that says, hey, congratulations.
Interesting. So I knew this was going to come up, and I know that he's let's see, what did Wayne say? Drone to the beach, sell photos to porn site. Now, this is the obvious concern here for most people, and that's the privacy issue behind someone flying around with the camera, pretty much anywhere you go. And again, definitely not a legal expert, and I'm not saying that between the two of us, we probably know all the details as far as this is concerned. And I did notice that in your video, you state very clearly that before you fly a drone anywhere, you make sure it looks like it's an abandoned home. If there's somebody there or they're not friendly, you're not going to go near it. And unfortunately, probably not everyone will operate under that same procedure that you do. So there are legitimate concerns that, who knows, somebody's sunbathing in their backyard, or, your kids are playing outside. You don't want someone coming by with the camera and taking those photos. So I am curious to know, how are you familiar with like how the laws that we have on the books now apply to that? And how do you approach it when you think that I might be going into an area where people would be concerned or not want to see my drone in the air there? Do you just kind of take the most conservative approach to that? Or do you try to get permission up front, or how does that work?
Well, if you're flying over somebody's like personal property, you have to get their permission first. I think there are legitimate privacy concerns. I think there are people that fall on both sides of the fence of, well, drones, if you follow the legal definition of what you can do, there's a lot that you can do. And personally, I want us to get to a place like cars. So everybody understands the rules. Even if I'm not licensed to drive a car, I understand this sign means I can go 55 miles an hour. I can drive in these places at this speed. If I'm doing, X, everybody knows I'm wrong doing X. And I think drones are just so new that not everybody understands what the rules are. And when it's so easy that, I could drive to Best Buy right now, if they're still open. They're probably not open. Tomorrow, I could drive to Best Buy and buy a drone and start flying it, and not know exactly what I'm doing, or I could have ill intent. So I think we just need to get to a place where the rules, everybody understands the rules, and we understand when somebody's not following the rules. Because sometimes you'll be flying in a legitimately, you'll be flying in a very, you're legally allowed to fly there, nobody's around, and you'll still get people that will come up to you and, be angry about your drone because you're spying on them, even though they were nowhere around like 10 minutes ago, or your drone's nowhere. Like it's not the Bourne Identity. It's a tiny, like it's like a cell phone size sensor inside of this drone. It's not, the space station or something, I guess. But I think there's a lot more frustrations with drones just because everybody's not on the same page of what they can do and what they're not allowed to do. And I think there is a legitimate concern about privacy if people do have ill intent. Like I said, it's too easy to just go buy one. But they're pretty loud, so it's pretty easy to tell when somebody's there. And I guess if you're concerned, you just call the cops, and the cops find the people. I know there's DJI, the big drone company, because what's going to happen is as more and more people get out with drones, there's going to be more issues. Like I think a few months ago, there was an instance of somebody flying a quadcopter. I know the drone sphere says, hey, it looks faked. I don't know whether that video was faked or not, but it was somebody with like a quadcopter that flew over a commercial jet. And that went pretty viral on YouTube about like drones and stuff. And there will be more instances of bad things happening. The airspace is already cluttered, and it's only going to get more and more cluttered when everybody has a drone. So I think we just need to figure out like what are the rules, and everybody needs to follow them, and we'll be better. And I know the big drone companies, like I was saying, like DJI has a very invested interest in making sure that, you know, the rules are something that the governments can live with, because if they're not, they're just going to get banned. And there's been a lot of talk in like in Canada, it's almost impossible to fly a drone just for fun because the rules are so strict. So there's new technologies coming out every day where like DJI is coming out with this new thing where it's like a radar gun that can tell where, like, hey, I aim it at this drone. I know where the person's flying that drone is at.
Oh, I know they've heard about that.
I know they've been using those at like concerts and sporting events where they're like, oh, there's somebody flying a drone illegally. You know, okay, that's where they're at. Because what you don't want to have happen is, what was it, last year, the year before last, when somebody was flying a GoPro drone and like crash it in a like at a baseball game or something, like into the people. So we just gotta be safe.
So these all operate on RF, correct?
Yes, but some of them use, like, I think I'm not the technical expert on them. I think they all use RF in some way, shape, or form, but some of them are like encrypted RF, I think. Okay. So I don't know if that means anything. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, the reason I was
or an engineer.
When you said that there was a device that they could point at the drone and figure out basically where it's being controlled from, that would lead me to believe that they're honing in on a radio frequency and tracing it back to the source, or seeing, you know, I don't know how they do that, but obviously, yeah. We don't want it falling out of the sky. And I'm sure you remember when it was GoPro, wasn't it, that had a problem with the insufficient battery capacity, to where the drone flew out of range and then the battery died before it could fly back to the operator.
Oh yeah,
and that kind of crashed their stock quite a bit when that happened.
Well, yeah, and GoPro's a frustrating. Not the GoPro's frustrating. I don't think they knew what they were doing. And so here's the thing about drones that, I'm a very, I don't want to say conservative, but I'm a super safety oriented person. I'm not a big risk taker. So take my cell phone. Every piece of technology on earth will glitch in some way, shape, or form, whether it's, you know, my computer right now that we're live streaming on, whether it's my cell phone glitch. But if my cell phone glitches, I drop the call, or, you know, I lose internet for a little bit. If a drone glitches, it can fall out of the sky and probably, you know, it could injure somebody or damage some property. So I just think if you're going to be irresponsible enough to, or if you're not that GoPro is being irresponsible, I don't want to, you know, put words in their mouth or say anything, but if you're going to get into the drone business, you really got to have your engineering on point, because it can be dangerous if you're just kind of like messing around with it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to put this up here real quick, and we'll go over to the comments for a second. I want to make sure that we're not missing anything that anyone might have asked. So let's put this on the screen for the moment. This was where a judge actually ruled in favor of someone who decided to shoot down a drone that was flying over his property. This is back in October 2015. And I want to say, yeah, I was in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So at least in that situation, they said, yeah, you know, if somebody flies over your property, I guess shotgun it, which is only going to add to the problem if you have people just shooting at things in the air randomly. But that's probably not going to be good. Real quick here, let's see what's going on in the chat. Johnny Chang, what's going on? Those are creep wannabes who want to use a voice synthesizer. He was talking about the YouTube comments. Gary is, yeah, we're going to skip that one. Let's see. I am too drunk to remember. I figured you were drinking, Wayne. Kind of sounded like it. Tequila Lord, stop deranging the chat. Okay, what about teaching newbies how to use drones in person? There's a good one. Yeah, I mean, you know, absolutely. I'm sure I know there are online courses you can take. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if you want to go for your Part 107, there's all sorts of resources that'll help you learn, or like even the apps themselves will teach you how to use the drone before you go out and use it. And some drones, there's a company called Feutech, or not Feutech, Thema Robotics. They make a drone called the Jamie. It's not super popular here in the United States. I think there's like 5 of them. But before they'll actually let you hit the takeoff button, there's like a whole course you have to take on their app, where it's like, hey, here's how you take it off. Here's how you control it. You got to go through all of that before it'll let you do the takeoff thing. So I know like more seasoned drone people will probably be like, well, I know how to do all this stuff already, but I like when there's a little bit of a gate. So now on like even the DJI app, sometimes randomly, I haven't figured out like how many flights it takes before it asks you this, but it'll ask you like a 10-question quiz on, hey, what are the drone laws in your area? How high can you fly? What can you fly over? Can you fly over these people? Can you take your drone and do this? And if you fail it, it won't let you take off.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm assuming 1001 Noisy Cameras was probably asking that at the time we were talking about making money with drones. So possibly a potential to do drone lessons or something along those lines would be my guess. Also, Johnny had asked, does PI are allowed to use drones for their surveillance? So private investigators, I would assume are allowed to, but they must be subject to the same laws that we are, as far as surveillance goes.
I have no idea. I don't know anything about private investigators.
Johnny, you would want to seek an attorney if you're thinking about something on that along those lines, because I really wouldn't be able to give you advice, and that would be a tricky one. But I would assume they're kind of subject to the same rules that we are. Now, if you're talking about law enforcement agencies, they are exempt from quite a few of the limitations that we would have. So if it's a private investigator, I'd say they'd probably still have to follow the rules. But if you're talking about law enforcement, government agencies, that kind of thing, there's probably some carved out special legislation that applies to them. Drone to the beach, sell photos to the porn site. Can't do that. One need to learn flying paper planes before flying a drone. That, if you can't fly a paper plane, I'm going to agree with that. Let's see. And I can only fly my planes in certain places, unlike drones. Okay, so Wayne, you're flying an old, I shouldn't say an old, but you're flying a radio-controlled plane, I would assume. And you have more restrictions than drones. Is that what it is? Because it wouldn't surprise me, really. Murphy's laws are always true. At least expect a moment. Most drones, okay, so Wayne was saying most drones run on 2.4 gigahertz. So the gun floods the drone with 2.4 signal and takes. Military was intercepting drones that enemy combatants had been using. Apparently, I don't know if it was ISIS or what, but they were rigging drones with grenades, flying them behind Allied lines and dropping grenades. So they came up with a device to basically hijack the drones, and you would think turn them around and send them back to where they came from. I don't know what they did with it, but yeah, I've actually read a bit. Are you familiar with that, Gary? Where you can pretty much hijack a drone with the right equipment.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I doubt they're very secure pieces of technology. I mean, anything can be hijacked, right? Any signal or anything like that. So it would not. That's another thing. You got to fly safe. So if there is somebody that I guess were to take control of your drone, you're not gonna, if you're flying in the middle of nowhere, I don't know what they're gonna do about it. But no, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Okay, yeah, Wayne, I know you're not drunk. I'm just messing with you. I actually omitted one of your comments. Sorry. Potential for lessons and one-on-one tutoring, Law and Order, the drone unit, CSI quadcopters. There you go. All right, so I have a couple other things I wanted to ask you real quick, so we'll move right along here. We're almost halfway through. Time just flies when we get going on this stuff.
Absolutely.
When it comes to, and we have a lot of people on this channel that are in the repair business, and you obviously have flown many. How many drones do you think you've operated? Because I went to your channel and it's like this drone, this drone, this drone, this drone. Do you have like a collection?
I did. So so I don't get very emotionally attached to stuff. I keep stuff around for the channel so long as it works. And then as soon as it stops working, I sell it. So I currently have 2 drones. Since I have had the Phantom 3, the Phantom 4, the Mavic Pro, the Spark, the Air, the Pro Platinum. And so I've had the Jamie, so like 8 or 9 drones. So
in the hands of the average drone operator, how likely or unlikely is damage to the drone?
I mean, it depends on what. So the newer the drone is, the more sensors they have on it that should hopefully avoid wrecking stuff. But I wreck my drones all the time. Like I'm not gentle with my gear, and like in most of my videos, I'll wreck a drone at least once or twice just to see what it can do.
Oh, okay. I've been getting solicited by people in the repair industry, and one of the things that I have been getting regularly is a drone repair school. Come out here for 3 days or 5 days or whatever it is, and we'll teach you how to repair drones. I'm not sure how big of a benefit that would be, and that was because I don't really know what the numbers are. We don't have a lot of people coming to us for drone repair right now, but that may be because we don't offer it. So I don't, for the average operator who isn't being rough on their equipment, do you think it's fairly likely that someone will crash their drone in, you know, I don't know, let's say 40, let's say 100 hours worth of flight? Is there a decent chance that it's going to be, there's going to be an accident, or is it pretty unlikely?
I mean, it depends on the drone. If it's a cheaper drone, yeah, it's probably going to wreck a whole bunch. If it's one of the more expensive drones, it shouldn't. I mean, maybe if somebody that's not paying attention, or if, you know, a novice that doesn't understand what they're doing, you know, flying around trees or something. So maybe it's likely. I consider myself so I've only been flying drones for like 7 or 8 months now. So I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I just like flying them, and I like making videos about me flying them.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. And what you said, if it is going to be the less expensive ones that do break, then of course there's that diminishing returns, you know, where at a certain point it's like, yeah, it's broken, but I can buy another one cheap, so there's no point. Johnny just posted a link here about, what is this? Oh, hey, Johnny, that link doesn't work. So I just got a blank thing that says there's something wrong and the link's broken, whatever that was. Okay, so good to know. Now, you are also, I love your playlist, by the way, and this is one thing where when I go to a YouTube channel and they have playlists, it makes a lot of sense for me to continue, because if someone has 200 videos and they're just all lumped together, I mean, where do you start? There's no way. So my compliments on putting the playlist together. I know that takes some time, but it certainly helps a lot. But you've got an entire section that's dedicated, or several that are dedicated to cameras like GoPro, portable cameras, that kind of stuff. And one that kind of stuck out to me was the comparison between the GoPro, and I think you said it was the Yi. It was another brand that was similar to it. And I didn't watch the entire video. I got to admit, I was rushing through trying to watch a little bit of everything. So your conclusion on that, you know, if someone was looking to buy a GoPro but could pretty much cut that cost in half, do you feel like you sacrificed a lot as far as quality, battery lifetime, you name it? Is there much to be gained if you're not worried about, you know, very small differences?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I could talk all day about, so the whole reason I have a channel is so that I can so there's like 4 things that I really like. I like drones, action cameras, gimbals, and regular cameras. And I guess 5 things. There's 5 things that I really like. And, to answer your question, yeah. So GoPro may have started. I actually I think I mentioned this in a video I released the other day. GoPro started the market, but they're not the rulers anymore, because GoPro, you know, fell asleep for a while. They kept releasing like high-end cameras that, I mean, they're not bad, they're good, but when you charge $500 for an action camera, like, who can afford that? You know, besides like professional skiers, maybe like a skater. And so the one that they just released called the GoPro Hero, it's basically, it seems like it's something that they wanted to make a camera because they need something that's cheaper so that people will actually buy it, because they're being slaughtered by the cheap, you know, like the Yi technology makes an action camera that's as good as their brand new one, but it's half the cost. Or Yi even has like an $80 or a $60 action camera that, I mean, it's all right, it's not great, but for $60, it's okay. The cheapest GoPro you can get is now $200. I think GoPro has a lot just because they're like the Kleenex, they're the brand name. Everybody calls them a GoPro clone if you're talking about another GoPro. But yeah, there's definite benefits to be gained by looking elsewhere. The problem is that you go on Amazon, you type in action camera, there's a million action cameras in there, and a lot of them are just garbage. So it's kind of hard to like sift through the chaff to get to the wheat. And but yes, long story long, yes.
Okay. So yes, it is worth considering the alternative to GoPro.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So my budget recommendation, if you were to ask me, you know, everyday dad, people call me Ted because the everyday dad. Well, Ted is like trademark TED. So somebody said like the everyday dad, that's why it's Ted. But if they would say, hey Ted, what action camera should I get? I would say the Yi Lite. I'm not sponsored by Yi. I would say the Yi Lite because it's $100. It gets you just about everything you want. The only thing it doesn't have, and the only thing GoPro still does have, is waterproof cameras without a case. And I use mine in a gimbal almost all the time. So waterproof without a case, huge deal for me, because you can't balance it. So gimbals, I don't know how much you know about gimbals, but they're basically these little magic things that, you know, keep your camera stable, but they have to be balanced before you can use them. And if you have a case on an action camera, you can't balance the gimbal. So the only thing GoPro has is that it's waterproof without a case. That's the only thing they have. And it pains me to say that because I like GoPro as a company. When I was growing up, you know, I used to live out in Washington State. I spent a lot of time in the mountains. I always dreamed of having a GoPro because they were just out of my price range. And now that I can get a GoPro, I'm like, meh. GoPro, you're kind of, come on, GoPro. We all want you to succeed. Just stop being you.
Yeah. So I suppose that if they didn't, if they weren't the first and not necessarily the best, they certainly popularized the portable action camera. And they had, what's the guy on YouTube that does all his stuff on GoPro? He went from like homeless to millionaire. I'm going to go blank on his name right now. What is it? Real World Reviews. You know who I'm talking about? Dustin something, I think is his name. Why am I blanking out? In any case, here's my question. When I work right here on this bench, I have two options. If I want to look at something very small, I put it under a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
I have a DSLR camera that works, but it's just as easy for me to take an iPhone or a Galaxy phone that's got a good camera on it and use that with fixed focus for my bench. Now, the other alternative I had considered a long time ago, and it's funny that you mentioned the price point because someone I know recommended, hey, why don't you, give a GoPro a shot, see if that works for you, because that way you get tons of storage. The thing about this is you run the video for 30 minutes or so, the phone starts getting hot. On my old phone, the camera would crash after a certain amount of time. And obviously, if you had like a 16 gig phone, you couldn't get high quality video for long periods of time. So I considered doing a GoPro. I go to the store and, at $400 or $500 a pop, I didn't want to make the investment and try it. And there wasn't a good way for me to demo in the store. To your knowledge, have you had a situation where you actually used a GoPro in an up close environment where you're like 2-3 feet away from what you're trying to record?
I've tried doing the newest not the newest anymore, but the GoPro Hero 6 Black, like their top end of the line. The only time I've tried doing that is it has a slow motion function. It can record 1080p in 240 frames per second or 120 frames per second. It's got this thing called linear where it tries to make the GoPro footage look as little GoPro footage as possible because it has all that, like it's so wide, it has a fisheye distortion on it. This makes it very linear.
Okay.
I've recorded my drones taking off in slow motion before that way, but I don't know that I think I'd stick with a cell phone for that. So I recommend cell phones over. So here, like another thing that's knocking on the door of like the action camera business in general is like my Galaxy S9 is, IP68, right? It is waterproof and dustproof. So why do I need a GoPro if I've got a waterproof, dustproof, like legitimate camera in my pocket?
Right.
And I don't know that I would use it for minuscule stuff because the more you enhance that, I mean, it's such a small sensor and that image falls apart really quick.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what like kind of detail you're trying to get out of it, but I don't know that it would
be detailed to answer the question. I think you've answered my question, and that is that, especially considering the amount of control you have over a phone camera, in particular with an Android camera compared to GoPro, it's kind of just like press record, right? There's not adjusting the aperture or the white balance or any other option.
You can. It's called Pro Tune on like the Hero 5 and the Hero 6. You can absolutely change those settings like right in the back. But I wouldn't use it because it's not. I mean, I like it for what it is. I love action cameras. There's something about them just fascinate me that you can have a tiny little durable like 4K camera that fascinates me because their stabilization is just like. There's two action cameras that just have stabilization that will blow your mind. It's like, is this actually in a gimbal? That's the Sony FDR X3000. Sony is the worst brand on earth with naming things. They just are. Like the cell phone I just checked out was like the XA2. It's like, that's not cool. It's not Galaxy or iPhone. But the Sony FDR X3000 has optical image stabilization. The GoPro Hero 6, their electronic image stabilization it's amazing, but for detailed stuff, it's not. I wouldn't recommend it.
It's funny, exactly what you said. We were discussing last week, or it might have been Monday actually, and that is phones having friendly names. We've had the Galaxy S9, we've had all these like personal names, and Apple has stuck with iPhone numbering, all this time. And I'm hoping and sort of predicting that the iPhone 10 or X, whichever you prefer, will be the last numerical version of a phone. And let's make something else, because I swear, if you make an iPhone 11 or a Galaxy S11, it's just going to sound ridiculous. enough for the numbers already. But what do I know? They don't listen to most of my suggestions. No one's going to listen to this one right now. I want to stop real quick here for anyone who just joined us. And if I do this properly, there it is. Tonight, I should say, we are talking to the Everyday Dad. If you haven't seen his channel, you should absolutely check it out. Looks like you just hit 20,000. I don't know if that was as of today, but congratulations.
Well, thank you.
20,007 subscribers.
It was as of today.
Hopefully you'll have another 40 or 50 after tonight. I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said it was as of today. Today we hit 20,000.
Oh, cool. Well, perfect timing. So if you are interested in drones, action cameras, phones, I mean, look at this. These are all playlists. These aren't the videos. These are the playlists. And this is what I love. We've got best of the cheapest. We've got cameras and camera accessories, reviews, learn about drones. It's all categorized, very easy to navigate, very well put together, edited. And obviously, Gary has got that radio DJ voice. So it's not difficult to listen to him speak like some channels can be, probably like mine. So I want to jump over here to the comments real quick and make sure that we haven't missed anything, because it's been about 15 minutes or so. And Johnny said, my mic is out of sync. Does it still sound like it is? Let me know, please. If I'm talking, by the way, if either of us look like we're in a Kung Fu movie and we're not synced with the audio, sometimes live streaming does that. And after the video processes, it'll look better. So I'm hoping that's the case. Any bird strikes with drones? That's a good question. I wonder if anyone has had a bird take out their drone.
Oh, I'm sure there have been. I mean, birds, like sometimes you'll be flying them and birds will get very interested, or they'll get very aggressive about it.
Oh, yeah.
Something else that's crazy, and if you YouTube this, it'll terrify you, is drone bee attack. Sometimes drones sound exactly like bees, and bees will just go crazy and start attacking them.
So you might start attracting a swarm of bees while you're operating your drone.
It's never happened to me, but I've seen some YouTube videos of that, and I would not want that to happen to my drone. That's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, note to anyone who's allergic to bees, don't operate your drone anywhere near a beehive environment. That could turn out very bad. Also, I guess Wayne had tried to link someone had tried to link to police gun use on drones now at Commonwealth Games in Australia. There's a YouTube channel called Onigiri. The young girl's a hacker and maker concerning drones. Hacker and maker? We use drones in police, but we are talking predator-type military drones. That's in Australia. Why am I getting confused in Wayne? I'm not Batman. Oh, jeez. Sorry, guys. I might have missed. If I missed any comments, please come back and post them again. Comments are moving pretty fast tonight. I try to keep up, but it's difficult. Mike, is it safe for you to use that electrical outlet adapter? Hey, Harvey, how you doing? Which are you talking about? The Samsung one that you sent? If it is, I haven't plugged it in because you told me it burnt up, and I haven't taken it apart yet. So know if it's that, but I did get this. Housing, but I will try to put this to use, and I might pick up a board now and build this. But thank you for that, Harvey. Let's see, the Z Reviews YouTube channel uses a head mount. Let's see, birds versus drones. We covered that, and my audio sounds good. Awesome. Have you seen bugs get sucked into the internals of a drone? There's one.
I haven't. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but there's not like a lot of internals for a bug to get sucked into. It's not like they're generally the better ones have like brushless motors on them, and yeah, I mean, I've run into stuff with it all the time, but I don't know that I've seen a bug get sucked up into it. Huh. I also haven't had a bee attack on mine yet, so that was me knocking. I don't have any wood to knock on, but I knocked on my plastic table. Hopefully that is close enough.
Harvey, the one on my right, are you talking about this? This is just a power supply, if that's what you're talking about.
I think he's talking over your right arm. There's like in the camera frame. Yeah, point down, like behind you.
Down there.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So what that is, and I did a video on this. Thank you, guys. Sorry, it's hard for me to figure out what's going on sometimes. I get a little disorientated. It's probably the early onset Alzheimer's. But a while back, I made a video about these little remotes, and that is the adapter. It's the receiver basically for this remote. So when I want all of my lights to come on, I can just hit one button and it'll trigger that thing on the wall. As far as I know, it's safe. I mean, it's been working for quite a while. So knock on wood, I haven't burned the house down yet. So I'm going to say 99%, 90% certainty on that one. Let's see. So we said the GoPro versus the X brand, certainly worth looking at. Close-up quality, probably not. I'm checking these off my list, so I won't go and buy. I do want to get a GoPro for other things, or I shouldn't say a GoPro, and I'm doing the same branding.
See, Kleenex. They're the Kleenex. Everybody says GoPro. That's what they have.
GoPro, Bitcoin. I do it with everything myself. I'm guilty too. Yeah, I'm gonna try not to in the future. We talked about repairable. Okay, so real quick, everyone, if you aren't already aware, there's a new development in the Facebook drama, and I want to run this past you too, Gary, because I have a feeling you might use Facebook. It seems like a lot of people do these days. And of course, they're getting a bit of bad press lately. Well, just this morning, I read an article that says that, yes, Facebook is in fact reading through messages that you send on Messenger. They are looking for key words that could be inappropriate. They're looking for images that could be not something they want on their platform. And they will not allow those messengers to send if you happen to trigger one of these flags. So one, probably a good idea in some respects. Obviously, if we're looking for criminal activity, we're looking for evidence of crimes being committed. We're looking for people who are plotting who knows what, then okay. But to not know, and I usually tell people we probably should assume by now that Google, Facebook, anyone that you use to transmit data, number one, history has taught us that if you're not paying for it, then you are the product. So obviously you are contributing something to them on some level. And when I go to send a message through Gmail and it says, you wrote attachment, but there is no attachment. Are you sure you want to send it? Well, obviously they're looking at the message on some level, right? And we can kind of assume that Facebook's doing the same thing. If anyone reads the fine print, you pretty much agree to give them everything. I mean, if you upload a picture to Facebook and you do not publish it in your gallery and you go back and delete it, it is still Facebook property and they still have a copy of that. But scanning through your messages, nonetheless, is still a little creepy, don't you think?
Oh, it's 100% creepy. So I started using Facebook, I think it was 2005. It was called The Facebook. And it was like at 5 colleges. And my college went to Ohio State, and go Bucks. And I started it. I really liked it then. I used it a lot, but I haven't used Facebook in like 2 years.
Oh, really?
It's just turned, my personal Facebook has turned into like I don't know. I don't want to say a cesspool, but I guess you can find out like who the people that you don't think are crazy. When you're friends on Facebook, you find out, oh no, wait, you're actually legitimately crazy. So I haven't. I have like for social media stuff. I have a page on there for the Everyday Dad, but I never go there because I don't want like. So I try to be a positive person, and I don't like Facebook just is a negative place, and I try not to interact with it. Facebook creeps me out.
Okay, fair enough.
It really creeps me out.
We had a discussion also about, triggering advertisements in your Facebook feed after you had a conversation about a product a while back.
That is super creepy, by the way.
Yeah, it really is. But I'm on the same page with you there. I have a personal Facebook account that I really don't use. And I unfortunately came to the same realization that you did. And that is that a lot of people who I was, going back all the way to my childhood friends, you reconnect and you go, wow, I found this person. This is cool. This is the greatest thing ever. And then you realize that at some point along the line, they did lose their mind and they believe the most ridiculous things that are published on the most unreliable sources ever. And that becomes their news. That's the real world to them. So I'm with you there. I think that it's a benefit to have it, another social media as part of my business for my Go Cell Phone Repair channel. I have Facebook, I have Twitter and so forth. But I will say Facebook itself, the platform, is probably my least favorite, mostly for the reasons you mentioned. The negativity there, the fake so much stuff that people don't take 2 seconds to look up at Snopes and say, no, we know this is an urban legend. It was never there before. Well, supposedly part of the phenomena of this mass exodus from Facebook, where people are closing their accounts, is that they're now moving over to other platforms. A lot of them are going to Reddit, which is, gained, tons of tons of users over the last couple of weeks. And as a result, a whole bunch of old stuff that was posted like a year or 2 years ago is resurfacing because this new group of people wasn't even aware that it existed. Like they find a story and go, oh, let me share this with everybody. And we're going, we read that like 6 months ago. This is old news, but it never made it to Facebook. And this phenomena fascinates me. You know, the fact that living in the Facebook world, you are insulated from a lot of real information that's available to everyone else. It's you know, it's kind of scary, but it's not hard to understand how things have happened lately. You know, when you're able to captivate an audience to a level where you decide what they see as information, you know, you control their feed, so to speak. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Now with the sorry, if I cut you off, just go like that and stop me. We had the tiniest lag here from where I'm at to you because we're on opposite coasts. So we may talk over each other briefly. Let's see. What Facebook is full of bots, trolls, and people with too much free time. I have a page for my business. Yeah. Say, hey, Hawaii, how's it going? Snopes is a work. I like Snopes. I know they're slightly biased, but it seems like you can look on there and ask them if the world's flat or not. And I think you get pretty accurate response from it. Hollow Earth confirmed Earth is splitting into two. Great. I don't use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. The biggest flaw on Facebook is they don't let people digress their view. Yeah, it's interesting. There is no dislike button on Facebook, right? That's one of the other missing elements. Okay, so I won't dwell on that too much. But I would like to talk a little bit about YouTube because we are on YouTube all the time, and that's what this is all about. Obviously, there was some crazy thing happened recently. I'm sure you're all aware of it. I don't want to dwell on negative stuff like that. It's unfortunate. Wishing the best, of course, for everyone who was involved in that incident, but drawing attention to this overreaction, I think, to demonetization. You know, there's been a conversation and a general consensus that, oh, you know, it's evil. YouTube is taking money away from people. And I try to reiterate this in a positive way as much as often. And I suspect that this is, you know, hopefully part of your channel as well. And that is the monetization of your projects, I would assume, go beyond what YouTube offers you. And I don't want to, you know, I'm not asking you for specifics, but for advice to other people who are thinking, hey, I want to do a YouTube channel and make money, and it's going to take me a while to get to 1,000 people. There are a lot of other options. There are a lot of other ways to monetize. And in fact, I did watch I didn't realize you had done a consultation with YouTube creators. Tim Schmoyer, who is awesome. I love Tim. His videos have taught me so much. If anyone out there has a YouTube channel, you should absolutely check out theirs as well. He's got great advice all the time, and gave people a lot of alternatives to monetizing through AdSense, which I think is the poorest way that's available right now to make money. You know, if you want to make $1 for every 1,000 views, it's going to take you a long time to make a significant amount of money. But from your perspective, Gary, because you've been doing this for over a year, if you had advice for someone with a newer channel, because I'll probably forget some of it, what would you tell them, you know, as far as getting things going, making it happen, and where to turn to get some compensation for it?
Well, I would just say and I know this is kind of the cliche thing to say, but you just got to do it because you enjoy doing it. I just enjoy messing around with tech, and the fact that the channel is able to, like the fact that we're able to get to the point where the channel is self-sustaining, so I can buy cool stuff for the channel and it kind of pays for itself. I mean, that's awesome. But to get to that point, took me about 7 or 8 months of like solid work. So it's a lot of work. But you just got to do it because you enjoy doing it. The problem is that I don't like putting all of my eggs in the YouTube basket, because as we saw, the person that controls the purse strings of AdSense is Google, and Google can change their policies they could change their policies tomorrow that people that wear Ohio State hats no longer get monetization. And I have zero recourse about that. So if you're doing it for monetization, I would diversify as far as possible. A lot of things that you can do. You can do a Patreon account where you can have people like donate to you. Hey, I want to invest in your channel. Here's how much I want to do a month. You can do things like get an affiliate link through Amazon. The problem with that is you have to be a certain size before Amazon will say yes. I don't
That's
know
a
the
vicious circle, isn't it?
yeah, I don't know the exact size because I applied for it when I was I applied for it when I was below 1,000, and then I applied maybe in the 2,000s, and then they accepted me in the 2,000s. But I mean, you can apply. They'll say yes. You put your affiliate links up. As soon as somebody buys something, they do an automatic review of your social media standing, and if they find it to be lacking, they're like, okay, here's your 30 cents for selling this trinket. You're kicked off the thing until come back when you're bigger. So it's really about the reason I do this is I just enjoy my community's awesome. I love interacting with them. They're great. The fact that it's monetized is a bonus. I have a full-time job. This is just a hobby of mine. If you were trying to make a living off this, I have no solution for you because I don't know. Unless you're going to be gigantic, unless you blow up as a YouTuber, or you get like a legitimate patron out there that's like, I like the cut of your gib or the cut of your jib, man. I'm going to fund your project or whatever. I'm not at that place, but I mean, if you want to do it, because another problem with YouTube is it's just saturated. It's oversaturated in almost any field. So if you want to get big enough that you can be like a star, like a rising star, you got to come out with something that nobody's ever seen before. And I don't know whether it's shocking or good or bad or whatever. You got to be different just to like get a foot in the door. Yeah, long story long. But monetization, it would be the last thing on my mind if I were to start a channel today. Well, 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. That took me 6 months of making. I started off with 1 video a week, went to 2 videos a week. I did daily vlogging for like 46 days, which I do not recommend to anybody because that is the worst. That is the worst thing you could do to yourself. I don't understand how people do that because that's just a grind that crushes people.
So as far as the effort that you put into it, did you see results from daily vlogging?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
All it did was grind me down. Gotcha. I mean, because eventually you're at the point where you're like, what am I going to make my video about today? It's 6 o'clock. I just got home from work. It's 7 o'clock at night. What am I going to make my video about? Blah, 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 blah. And nobody, I mean, yeah, there are people that will want to see you just sit there and talk to the camera, but unless you have a really cool location, which unfortunately Augusta, Georgia, no offense if anybody lives in Augusta, Georgia, but Augusta, Georgia is not a super exciting location to like, it's not New York City where I can just set up 3 cameras and do time lapses and everybody's like, that's amazing.
Well, so, and if you happen to be an attractive female, that would probably be the exception to that rule because they talk about anything and someone's gonna watch it. It blows my mind when I watch female gamers who really the whole stream is about watching them play the game. It's not about the game. It's not about the information that they're conveying. But hey, whatever works for you, I guess. But I will say, after a little over a year being at 20,000 subscribers, I think that's impressive. And if that's something that other people can achieve, that's encouraging. If it takes you a year to get to 20,000 subscribers, you're doing much better than I did in my first year of YouTube. Now, granted, I wasn't publishing every week. I was doing it, once a month at the most. But you're on here practically every day, right?
Well, I do a video on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then we do a live stream on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then I do another stream. I guess I publish a piece of content every day except Sunday. Sunday's kind of like my scripting. Sunday's the work day because I got to script everything for the week and shoot as much B-roll as I can
right
on Sundays. And so I'm kind of like, so I'm moving here pretty soon. I don't know how I'm going to keep that up. I'll probably have to like pare back a bit here in the coming months.
I was going to say, I hope everyday mom and everyday kids are okay with that because that sounds like a busy schedule.
Oh yeah, no, so all of it, if you go to like the earlier videos, I don't have as many of like the bags under the eyes. Because a lot of this, like my bedtime is like an hour ago, or I guess it used to be an hour ago, and now I do all the YouTube stuff afterwards because, I just enjoy it. Like I don't consider myself a very creative person, so just that I'm able to make these videos. I've always been fascinated with like cameras and videos, and just being able to make a video that somebody enjoys. I take great pleasure in that, and the fact that I'm able to make a little bit of money to buy more stuff to make more videos about, I just think that's cool.
That's awesome. And like you said, it's cliche, but oftentimes cliches are true. If you enjoy doing it, or it's something you're doing anyways, and that was my idea. I figured, if I got to sit on this thing taking phones apart, maybe if I record it, somebody will watch it, and somehow that kind of worked. So if people want to see your I've got your channel up here. Is there a link to the Twitch stream, or do you have to be on a certain platform to see that? How does that work?
Oh, you just go on Twitch. It's here, I can type it in your chat. I think did my mouse just die? Yeah, if you want to come hang out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after my video's out, we just play some video games and just hang out with everybody. It's just twitch.tv/TedTech. So TEDD.
So Ted with two D's?
Ted with 2 D's, Tech. It'll eventually change, but I made that name, and then you can't change your username on Twitch for like 60 days. We're stuck with that for a while.
Okay,
but yeah,
so are you the knife fighting the alien fish guy?
I am the knife fighting the alien fish guy. That's if I could make a T-shirt that says that, I am the knife fighting the alien fish guy.
I don't know what that means, but let's see if we can put it on the screen here. Okay, so this is Gary's Twitch account. So like he said, it's just twitch.tv/TEDDTECH, TED Tech. And you've got, I assume, videos and clips, which unfortunately don't really play on here. For some reason, Hangout, we can give it a shot here just to see if we can preview one of your videos here, but they don't tend to cooperate for some reason. Probably
you don't have to show the part where I was like screaming out loud last night. I would appreciate that.
I guess if they want to see that, they have to go there.
Yeah, if you want to see it, I'm not a very good video game player, which is why I play games that are easy, but this one was terrifying.
Well, is it more about being a skillful game player or entertainment value that you give the audience?
Well, I mean, the whole reason I do this is just to have another. So here's what I don't like about YouTube is I don't like that YouTube, in my experience, like you make one drone video and you do really well on it, and YouTube says you're now a drone channel. We will only, suggest your videos on other drone channels. If you make something else, sorry, we're not going to show it to anybody. Nobody's going to care about it. You are now a drone channel. So I want to do things where I can like hang out with my subscribers more. But if I start, on my general tech channel, if I start streaming video games, I feel like YouTube's going to punish me for that because nobody's going to watch it because they're not going to send it out to anybody to see. So I've moved a lot of my live stuff to Twitch just so that it doesn't like bother the YouTube channel. Cause once YouTube says you are this, you are now that. And that's a frustrating thing about YouTube.
Yeah, it's certainly, their algorithm certainly lacks, what do I want to say? The human factor is not there.
Finesse.
Yeah. And I found the same thing. I end up ranking for things that I'm not really trying to rank for, but if you don't go with it, the alternative is to fight an uphill battle. So that's tricky, but I'm definitely going to check out your Twitch. You said it was, I'm sorry, one more time. Was it on Friday?
It's on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely check that out. I do want to, it is 2 minutes till 7. These things fly by so fast. I want to check the content, the chat and see if we had any questions for you while you're here, because I certainly won't be able to answer them. A little bit of talk about YouTube. I think we're caught up. You were demonetized, Hawaii Sidecar. Why? What did you do? Or what did they say that you did? People rely on YouTube videos support because they're made for the same citizens on the real life, day-to-day, down to earth. I agree completely. There goes my $800 a year. Well, that sucks. I wonder what happened. You can probably try to fight that. You can ask them what happened there. Because I believe it or not, had one of my videos pulled for copyright infringement on a song that I had paid for and had the rights to use, which is crazy. How can we do Twitch without getting electrocuted? I don't know. Maybe just
not doing a bathtub with like a toaster or something. I don't generally when I consume my social media, I generally am not in a bathtub with a toaster. Okay, that's what I would say.
Just don't take your anti-seizure medication and the rest just happens naturally. No, don't do that, obviously. I was gonna go into 3D printers, but man, it is 1 minute till 7. Tonight has flown by. So Gary, I want to say thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks to everyone in the chat for stopping by. And I am going to sign off here momentarily. If you'll stay on the call with me for just a minute, Gary, I'll stop the stream and then we'll wrap up. But again, everyone, thanks for joining. Say thank you to Gary for joining us, and hopefully we'll have him back in the future. And maybe that will be our opportunity to talk about 3D printing, which I am very curious. I am extremely curious about, but an hour is only an hour. So what are you going to do?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate coming out here. And yeah, I'd absolutely come back if I just love streaming. I just love
Awesome.
streaming.
Hey, I'm loving it too, and I'm definitely going to check out your Twitch. And one of these days, I'll get back into gaming condition, but I'll probably be a spectator for a while. Everyone else will be in the chat for the next 5 minutes or so. Again, thanks for joining us, and I will be back next Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If not, catch me again next Thursday. We have an exciting announcement coming up because I'm right around the corner from 500 subs, and we got to do something to celebrate that. So you know what that means. Also, the lineup of guests we have for the rest of the month, I think you're going to like. Everyone have a good evening, and I will see you next time.